Did Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei's Pursuit of Jade success help open the door to Puma? Hello everyone. Welcome back to this channel. Today, we're going to look at a story that may seem simple at first, but the deeper you look, the more interesting it becomes. It's a story about success, about timing, about chemistry, and perhaps, about two actors whose journey together may have created a momentum that neither of them could have predicted. Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei. Two names. One drama. One unforgettable partnership. And a question that fans have been quietly asking. Did the success of Pursuit of Jade help create the momentum behind Zhang Linghe's growing commercial power, including his connection with Puma? Now, before we go any further, there is something important to understand. This is not about saying that Tian Xiwei personally secured Zhang Linghe a Puma deal. There is no verified evidence that Puma chose Zhang because of Tian. Instead, this is an experiment. An experiment based on timing, public attention, commercial momentum, and the remarkable journey of two actors who became one of the most talked about pairings surrounding Pursuit of Jade. And once you put all those pieces together, the timeline becomes fascinating. It all began with Pursuit of Jade. The drama premiered on March 6, 2026, with Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei taking the central roles. From the very beginning, their presence together created something special. It wasn't simply about having two popular actors sharing the screen. It was about the way their characters interacted. The tension. The emotional distance. The moments of understanding. The quiet looks. The small reactions that didn't always need dialogue. Sometimes, chemistry isn't something you can explain. You simply feel it. And that feeling can become powerful. Because when viewers begin caring about two characters together, they don't just watch the story anymore. They begin following the people behind the characters. They search for interviews. They watch behind-the-scenes moments. They discuss every interaction. They share edits. They create theories. And suddenly, the drama becomes bigger than the drama itself. That is where Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei became particularly interesting. Their individual popularity mattered. But the attention surrounding them together created another layer. A shared momentum. And then, something happened that made fans look at Zhang Linghe's career from a completely different perspective. His commercial presence began expanding. Fast. During the same period when Pursuit of Jade was attracting significant attention, reports began highlighting Zhang's growing endorsement activity. And among the names that stood out was Puma. Think about that for a moment. A major global sportswear brand. A rising actor. A hit drama. A highly discussed co-star. And a timeline that seemed to move incredibly quickly. Then came the announcement. Zhang Linghe became Puma's Greater China brand ambassador. For fans, this was more than another endorsement. It felt like a statement. A statement that Zhang Linghe was entering another stage of his career. Not simply as an actor, but as a commercial figure capable of representing major international brands. And this is where the experiment becomes even more interesting. Because Zhang didn't suddenly appear in Puma's world and disappear. His connection with the brand continued through additional campaigns and appearances. The partnership developed. The visibility increased. And fans naturally started looking backward. What happened before this? What changed? What created this momentum? And one answer kept appearing in the timeline. Pursuit of Jade. Of course, timing alone cannot prove causation. But timing can raise a fascinating question. Could the enormous attention surrounding Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei have contributed to the broader commercial momentum surrounding both stars? Even Ichi highlighted the rise in commercial value surrounding Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei following Pursuit of Jade. And that detail is important. Because this isn't simply fans saying, "They look good together." It becomes a bigger conversation. What happens when a successful drama transforms the public perception of its leading actors? What happens when audiences begin seeing them not only as performers, but as faces capable of carrying an entire cultural moment? And perhaps that is exactly what happened. Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei entered Pursuit of Jade as two leading actors. But as the drama grew, their names became increasingly connected with the success of the project. And that creates something the entertainment industry understands extremely well. Momentum. Momentum can change everything. One successful project leads to more attention. More attention creates greater visibility. Greater visibility attracts brands. Brand attention creates more opportunities. And those opportunities create an even larger public profile. It becomes a cycle. And Zhang Linghe's 2026 career trajectory makes that cycle particularly interesting. Reports highlighted an expansion in his endorsement portfolio, with major names including Puma, Gucci, and Bulgari appearing around his growing commercial presence. Suddenly, the question isn't simply, why did Zhang Linghe get Puma? The more interesting question becomes, what happened before Puma? And that takes us back to Tian Xiwei. Because perhaps the most beautiful part of this story isn't the brand. It isn't even the endorsement. It's the possibility that two actors working together created something larger than either person could create alone. Zhang Linghe brought his own popularity. Tian Xiwei brought hers. But together, they created a screen partnership that captured attention. And when audiences connect with a partnership, the impact can travel far beyond the screen. Fans notice. Brands notice. Platforms notice. The entertainment industry notices. And perhaps, that is why this story feels bigger than a simple endorsement announcement. There was a moment when fans began celebrating Zhang's achievements. And at the same time, many couldn't help remembering the journey that had brought him there. The drama. The character. The chemistry. Tian Xiwei. Pursuit of Jade. One success after another. And then, Puma. Could these things really be connected? Again, we have to be careful. There is no verified statement from Puma saying, we chose Zhang Linghe because of Tian Xiwei. There is no official confirmation that Tian personally influenced the deal. That would go beyond the evidence. But there is something we can say. The success of Pursuit of Jade appears to have been an important part of the broader period in which Zhang and Tian experienced increased attention and commercial discussion. And that makes the timeline worth examining. Perhaps Tian Xiwei didn't give Zhang Linghe Puma. Perhaps that's not even the right way to look at it. Maybe they simply helped create a moment. A moment in which both of their names became bigger. A moment in which audiences paid closer attention. A moment in which Pursuit of Jade became more than another drama. And maybe that momentum gave Zhang Linghe the platform from which his next chapter could begin. There is something deeply touching about that possibility. Because sometimes success doesn't happen because of one person. Sometimes, success is a chain. One opportunity creates another. One role leads to another. One performance creates attention. One partnership creates a memory. And one unforgettable drama can change the trajectory of an entire career. For Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei, Pursuit of Jade may have been exactly that kind of moment. They gave audiences a story. They gave fans characters to remember. They created moments people wanted to talk about. And in return, the drama may have helped amplify their visibility in ways that extended far beyond the screen. For Zhang Linghe, that journey eventually reached major commercial stages. And Puma became one of the most visible symbols of that growth. So perhaps the real question isn't, did Tian Xiwei get Zhang Linghe Puma? No. That's too simple. The more fascinating question is, Did the success they created together help build the momentum that allowed Zhang Linghe to reach an even bigger commercial stage? That question leaves room for the facts. And also for the fans' interpretation. Because maybe that's what makes their story so compelling. They didn't need to be defined by one achievement. They had the drama. They had the audience. They had the chemistry. They had the individual careers. And then, they had the results. 2 actors. 1 unforgettable project. And a journey that continued long after the cameras stopped rolling. So now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the success of Pursuit of Jade played an important role in Zhang Linghe's commercial rise in 2026? And more importantly, do you think the chemistry between Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei helped make the drama powerful enough to create that momentum? Was Puma simply the result of Zhang Linghe's individual growth? Or do you think the success of Pursuit of Jade was one of the important pieces of the bigger picture? There may never be one simple answer. But perhaps that's what makes this story so fascinating. Because sometimes, the most powerful partnerships aren't measured by one contract, one award, or one headline. Sometimes they're measured by what happens afterward. And for Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei, perhaps the most interesting chapter is still being written. So tell me, did Pursuit of Jade become the turning point that helped take Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei to the next level? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us for the next chapter. Because when Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei are involved, there always seems to be another story waiting to unfold.